Welcome, fellow inner explorers, to Whispers of the Mind. I am your guide, a longtime traveler on the path of personal growth, and I've spent a lifetime decoding the mysteries of human potential. Have you ever felt that there's more to your story than you've uncovered? Perhaps, beneath the surface of your daily life, a deeper truth, a richer purpose waits to be revealed? This isn't just a video. It's an invitation, a call to embark on a journey of self-discovery. As you watch, I encourage you to not just listen, but to reflect. Let each moment sink in, and allow the message to resonate within your soul. Watch until the end, because what we're about to explore together may just change how you see your own life. Today, we delve into a story, not just of inheritance, but of the profound wisdom we carry within ourselves, waiting to be awakened. As the twilight of life embraced Oliver, his two children, Derek and Elsie, gathered around his hospital bed. The room was heavy with the scent of antiseptics and the silent weight of the inevitable. When Oliver's breath became shallow, he beckoned Derek closer, whispering something into his ear. The next day, it was announced that Derek had inherited a staggering $500 million from their father's estate. Elsie, feeling a pang of shock and envy, wondered if the same fortune awaited her. Elise stood in the shadow of her father's hospital room, the beeping of machines a stark reminder of the life slipping away. The air was thick with the scent of antiseptic and the unspoken words of goodbye. Her brother, Derek, was nowhere to be seen, likely already celebrating his newfound wealth, while Elise clutched an old, battered phone, her father's last gift. Elise's fingers brushed against the pocket of her jacket, feeling the cold metal of an old, scratched phone, her father's last gift to her. It was an odd bequest, one that puzzled her. But as her fingers wrapped around it, she felt a connection to her dad, a silent promise between them. Oliver's hand twitched, and Elise moved closer, her voice a whisper. "I'm here." His eyes fluttered open, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. "Remember," he managed, his voice a mere thread, "the phone, it's more than it seems." His gaze was intense, urging her to understand, to look beyond the surface. Then, with one last breath, he was gone, leaving her with more questions than answers. Back at home in the heart of New York City, Elise sat alone in her room, the old phone resting on her desk like an unopened book full of secrets. The password prompt stared back at her, a digital lock to her father's last enigma. The room was quiet, the city's hum a distant melody compared to the cacophony of her thoughts. The phone, it's more than it seems. Elise examined the phone closely, her eyes catching a tiny, almost imperceptible switch near the charging port. With a cautious hand, she flicked it. The screen changed, revealing a hidden app. Its icon, an antique key, suggesting entry to something locked away from the world. A video began to play. There was her father, younger, vibrant, his eyes alight with life, but shadowed by secrets. "Elise, if you're watching this, it means I'm no longer with you. But know this, I've left you something invaluable, not just this phone, but the truth it holds. You'll find answers, but you must be careful. Trust no one until you understand everything." "Elise, we need to talk," Thomas, her stepdad, called out, his tone leaving no room for refusal. She knew this wasn't going to be a pleasant conversation. "What about?" she asked, her guard up. "About your inheritance," Thomas said, stepping into her room uninvited. "Derek got the big share, as you know, but your part, we think it should go to Alex." "You want me to give my dad's last gift to Alex?" Her voice was a mix of disbelief and defiance. "For his education," Thomas insisted. "It's what family does." "This isn't just money," Elise retorted, gripping the phone tighter. "It's mine." "You're being selfish," Thomas accused. "Think about what's best for everyone." Thomas leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Watch your tone, Elise. This isn't just about Alex, it's about what's fair. You live here under my roof." The implication was clear: compliance or conflict. "Fairness. My father wanted me to have this, not for you or Alex to decide its fate." Their heated exchange was interrupted by Alex, who appeared at the doorway, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice groggy. "Your sister," Thomas said, turning to Alex, "is being stubborn about helping you out." Alex frowned, trying to catch up. Oh, the money for college. Elise saw the moment. Yes, Alex, for college. But wasn't it supposed to be for some business venture just yesterday? Thomas's face twitched with irritation. It's for his future, Elise. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Elise's mind raced, connecting dots. Her father's warning about the phone, Thomas's sudden interest in her inheritance, their inconsistent excuses. She stepped toward the door, her resolve hardening. We'll see about that, she declared, leaving the room with a sense of purpose. The city outside was a stark contrast to the stifling atmosphere she left behind. The streets buzzed with life, a reminder that the world moved on, even in the midst of personal turmoil. Elise walked, her mind piecing together the puzzle her father had left her. The night was thick with the kind of silence that precedes a storm. Elise's fingers trembled as she dialed Marcus's number. It was late, and she knew he might not answer, but the urgency in her heart couldn't wait for morning. The phone rang twice before Marcus's voice crackled through, groggy with sleep. Elise? It's what? 2 a.m. I'm sorry, Marcus, but I need your help. It's about Dad. Her voice was steady, but carried the weight of her recent discovery. There was a pause, the sound of Marcus waking up literally and figuratively to the gravity of her words. What about Oliver? He left me something, his old phone. It's more than just a phone, Marcus. It's encrypted, and he said it's more than it seems. I think he was involved in something big, something called Project Eclipse. When the knock finally came, it was gentle, almost hesitant, as if not to disturb the city's slumber. Elise opened the door to find Marcus, his face lined with concern, but his eyes alight with curiosity. He was in his early 40s, his hair peppered with gray, a testament to years spent in front of computer screens, unraveling digital mysteries. Elise, what's going on? Marcus asked as he stepped inside, his gaze immediately drawn to the old phone on the desk. Oliver always had a flair for the dramatic, he murmured, a faint smile touching his lips, though it was tinged with sadness. So, what's the catch? It's encrypted, Elise explained. He said it's more than it seems. Classic Oliver. Marcus nodded, sitting down and pulling out his laptop. Let's see what secrets your dad left for you. They worked in silence for a while, Marcus typing commands into his laptop, connecting it to the phone. The room was filled only with the sound of keys clicking and the occasional sigh from Marcus as he encountered yet another layer of security. Here we go, he finally said, his voice low with excitement. The screen of his laptop displayed a series of files, each one named by a year. This isn't just about inheritance, is it? Marcus asked, his eyes meeting hers. There's something bigger here. Elise nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. Dad mentioned Project Eclipse in his message. Marcus's eyes widened. Project Eclipse? I've heard whispers of that. It was supposed to be a covert operation, something about surveillance beyond legal boundaries. Oliver was always against it, said it was too dangerous. There's more, Marcus said, scrolling through the files. They found emails, hidden transactions, and a list of names, politicians, business tycoons, and, surprisingly, a few law enforcement officials. Elisa's heart raced. This is why Thomas wanted the phone. They're not just after the money. The reality of their situation settled over them like a heavy fog. They were dealing with something far beyond family inheritance disputes. This was about corruption, power, and now their safety. We need to be careful, Marcus said, his tone now grave. If these people know you have this, they won't just ask. They'll take it by any means necessary. Elise felt the gravity of the situation, the weight of her father's trust in her. What do we do first? We make copies. We don't keep all our eggs in one basket, Marcus advised. Then we need to understand everything here. We need to go off-grid, find a place where we can work without being watched. We should also set up some form of communication that can't be traced, Marcus continued, pulling out a burner phone he had brought with him. We'll use this for now, but we'll need to keep moving, changing locations until we figure out our next step. Elise nodded, the enormity of the task before them dawning on her. How do we even begin to dismantle something like Project Eclipse? Marcus was setting up secure communication channels, while Elise packed essentials, her mind racing through scenarios. She was stepping into her father's shoes, unknowingly becoming part of something much larger than herself. As dawn light began to seep through the curtains, Marcus looked up from his work. Elise, this is big. We're not just uncovering secrets. We're stepping into a war. With that, they left her apartment, the city waking up around them, unaware of the storm brewing in the digital shadows, in the legacy left by Oliver for his daughter. They headed to a safe house Marcus knew, a place where they could delve deeper into the secrets of Project Eclipse without the prying eyes of those who would wish them harm. The journey to the safe house was tense. Marcus took circuitous routes, ensuring they weren't followed, while Elise kept her eyes on the mirrors, looking for anything out of the ordinary. They spoke little, the weight of their mission hanging between them. Upon arriving, the safe house was nothing like what Elise had expected. It was an old, nondescript building in a quiet part of the city. "We'll be safe here for a while," Marcus assured her, setting up his gear. "But remember, safety is temporary. We need to keep moving, keep learning." Elise watched as Marcus began to delve deeper into the files, his face illuminated by the glow of the screens. She felt a mix of fear and determination, knowing that they were now on a path from which there was no turning back. "We'll need to reach out to some old contacts of your dad's," Marcus said, breaking the silence. "People who knew what he was into, who might still be loyal, or at least willing to help for the right reasons. And we'll need to be careful with whom we trust," Elise added, her voice steady. "Dad said to trust no one until we understand everything." Marcus looked at her, a proud smile forming. "You're learning fast, just like your father." The safe house was eerily quiet, except for the low hum of Marcus's laptop and the occasional rustle as Elise paced, her mind racing. Morning light seeped through the cracks in the covered windows, casting thin beams across the room. Marcus leaned over his computer, muttering to himself as he decrypted another file. A loud crash shattered the morning stillness. The door burst open with a force that sent papers and equipment flying. Derek stood there, his face twisted with anger, his suit disheveled, but still a stark contrast to the chaos around him. In his hand was a pistol, its cold steel gleaming ominously in the light. "Elise," Derek growled, his eyes darting between her and Marcus. "You've got some explaining to do." Derek's lips curled into a bitter smirk. "You of all people, Marcus Foster. I should have known you'd slither your way back into this." Elise's eyes widened. "You know him?" Derek's glare didn't waver. "Oh, I know him. Dad's so-called trusted colleague. The guy who disappeared the moment things got dangerous." "What are you doing here, Marcus?" "Helping my sister run away with evidence that could destroy us all." "Destroy you maybe," Marcus shot back, his voice steady despite the weapon aimed at him. "But I'm here to protect Oliver's legacy and Elise." Derek took a step closer, the gun now aimed directly at Marcus. "Protect? You mean exploit, don't you, just like you did with Dad? I know what you're after, Marcus." Elise's chest tightened at his words. "What do you mean, wrong people? Dad didn't tell you the whole story," Derek cut her off. "And I bet Marcus didn't either." Marcus opened his mouth to protest, but Derek raised the gun slightly, silencing him. "Dad didn't just stumble onto Project Eclipse, he built it." The revelation hit Elise like a freight train. "That's not true. He was trying to stop it." Eventually, Derek interrupted, his voice hard, but only after he realized what he'd created. He thought he could fix it, expose it, but it was too late. And Marcus here, he was part of it too. Elise turned to Marcus, her voice trembling. "Is that true?" Marcus hesitated, his face pale. Yes, but it's not what you think. I worked with Oliver, but I didn't know the full extent of Project Eclipse until it was too late. When I found out, I tried to help him shut it down." "Shut it down?" Derek scoffed. "You mean you tried to cover your tracks?" Elise's head spun, the weight of the secrets crashing down on her. "Why didn't Dad tell me this?" "Because he wanted to protect you," Derek said, his voice softening again. He knew what kind of danger this would bring, and now you're diving headfirst into it, dragging Marcus along for the ride. A sharp noise from outside, the crunch of gravel underfoot, snapped everyone's attention. Marcus moved to the window, peering through the blinds. "Derek, did you bring anyone with you?" Marcus asked, his voice low and urgent. Derek frowned. "Why?" "Because someone's out there." Elise's blood ran cold. The trio slipped out the back door, moving quickly through the alleyways as the sound of footsteps grew louder behind them. Elise's mind raced as they ran, questions swirling in her head. Who was after them? And how much of what Derek said could she trust? The warehouse was silent, except for the faint clicking of Marcus's keyboard as he worked tirelessly on decrypting another layer of files. Elise paced the room, her mind racing through the tangled web of lies, secrets, and betrayal her father's death had unveiled. Derek sat in the corner, his arms crossed, his presence a heavy weight in the already oppressive air. Marcus looked up from his laptop, breaking the silence. "This next layer could take hours to decrypt, but I've already seen enough to confirm one thing. Your father wasn't just running from Project Eclipse, he was running from the people behind it." "You think you're uncovering some grand conspiracy? Let me save you the trouble. You're already in over your head. This isn't some crusade you can win." Elise turned to him, her patience wearing thin. "Why are you even here, Derek? You got your inheritance. You walked away without a second thought. What do you care about this now?" Derek leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "Because you're dragging my name into this mess. Do you think those people don't know who I am, who I'm related to? They think I'm part of whatever game you're playing. And now my life is on the line too. You didn't seem too concerned about family when you took the money and left," Elise snapped. "Maybe if you'd stayed, Dad wouldn't have had to protect me alone." Derek's face darkened. "You don't get it, do you? That money wasn't just an inheritance. It was hush money." Before Elise could respond, a sharp knock on the door cut through the tension. The three of them froze, their eyes darting toward the entrance. "Did you tell anyone we were here?" Marcus whispered, his hand instinctively reaching for his bag. "No," Elise said, her voice barely audible. Derek stood, his body tense. "Stay here, I'll handle it." Elise grabbed his arm as he moved toward the door. "What are you doing? You can't trust whoever that is." Derek pulled free, giving her a look that was equal parts frustration and pity. "You still don't get it, do you? I've been trying to protect you, but you're too stubborn to see it." He opened the door slightly, revealing Thomas standing on the other side, his face a mask of cold determination. Elise's stomach dropped. "Thomas," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Thomas stepped inside, his gaze sweeping the room before settling on Elise. "You made this a lot harder than it needed to be." "What are you doing here?" Marcus demanded, standing protectively between Elise and Thomas. Thomas ignored him, his eyes locked on Elise. "I told you to hand over the phone, Elise. You could have avoided all of this, but now you forced my hand." Elise felt a chill run down her spine. "Forced your hand? What are you talking about?" Thomas glanced at Derek, who looked away, his jaw tight. "You didn't think Derek came here on his own, did you? He's been helping me track you." "You're working with them?" Elise whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief. Derek didn't meet her eyes. "It's not what you think. They gave me no choice." "There's always a choice," Marcus said, his voice sharp, "and you made the wrong one." Thomas stepped closer, his expression calm but menacing. "Enough of this. Hand over the phone, Elise, and we'll make sure you're left alone. Keep fighting, and I can't promise what'll happen next." Elise's grip tightened on the bag containing the phone. "You think I'm just going to roll over after everything Dad did to protect this?" Thomas sighed, pulling a sleek handgun from his coat. "I was hoping you'd see reason. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Before anyone could react, Marcus lunged forward, knocking Thomas's arm to the side. The gun went off, the deafening crack echoing through the warehouse. Elise dove behind a stack of crates, her heart pounding as the chaos unfolded. "Run!" Marcus shouted, grappling with Thomas for control of the weapon. Elise hesitated for a split second before grabbing the bag and bolting toward the back exit. "Elise!" Derek shouted after her, But she didn't look back. Her only thought was survival. As she burst into the alley, the morning sun momentarily blinded her. She didn't stop, didn't think, just ran. Behind her, she heard footsteps. Someone was following. "Stop, Elise," Derek's voice called out, but she pushed herself harder, her legs burning with the effort. She darted into a side street, her mind racing. Marcus was still inside, fighting for his life. Derek and Thomas were after her, and somewhere out there, the people behind Project Eclipse were closing in. Elise slowed for a moment, her chest heaving. She had no allies left, no one to trust. All she had was the phone and the determination to finish what her father started. Elise ducked into a narrow alley, her chest heaving, the weight of the bag over her shoulder dragging her down. The adrenaline coursing through her veins drowned out the noise of the city waking around her. Her hands trembled as she pulled out the phone and stared at it. This device had cost her father his life, and now it was tearing hers apart. What was so important that Thomas and Derek were willing to betray her to get it? Elise didn't have time to dwell. She needed help, but who could she trust now? Caroline Voss, Marcus had mentioned her, the investigative journalist who had taken down high-level corruption before. If anyone could handle the explosive truth on this phone, it was her. She pulled out her regular phone and quickly searched for Caroline's contact information. A public-facing email was the only thing she could find. No phone number, no address, Elise muttered to herself. Then it hit her, an old journalist trick. She opened her email and composed a short, cryptic message. Subject: looking for the truth. Message: you exposed the Blue Harbor files in 2020. I have something bigger, a story that could shake the foundation of this country. Contact me securely. She hit send, hoping Caroline would take the bait. Minutes felt like hours as Elise waited, crouched in the shadow of a doorway. Her heart leaped when her phone buzzed. Unknown sender. Meet me at 5th and Brambleton, the coffee shop, 1 hour. Don't bring anyone. 1 hour later, the coffee shop was a nondescript hole in the wall, its weathered awning flapping in the breeze. Elise scanned the area, her nerves on edge. Inside, a woman sat alone at a corner table, her back to the wall. She was in her late 30s, dressed casually in jeans and a jacket, but her sharp eyes and the air of quiet confidence made her stand out. Elise approached cautiously. "Caroline Voss?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The woman looked up, her expression unreadable. "You're either very brave or very stupid, showing up like this." "I didn't have much of a choice," Elise replied, sliding into the chair across from her. "Marcus said you could help." At the mention of Marcus, Caroline's expression hardened. "Marcus Foster? He's involved in this?" "Yes," Elise said. "He helped me decrypt some files my father left me. Files connected to something called Project Eclipse." Caroline's sharp eyes studied her, searching for any hint of deception. Finally, she leaned forward. "If what you're saying is true, you're in more danger than you realize." "I already know that," Elise said. "My stepfather just tried to kill me." Caroline's lips tightened. "They're escalating. We don't have much time. Tell me everything." As Elise recounted the events of the past few days, Caroline listened intently, her expression darkening with every detail. When Elise finished, the journalist sat back, her fingers steepled in thought. "Project Eclipse," Caroline said slowly. "I've heard whispers about it. A black ops initiative buried under layers of bureaucracy. The kind of thing that doesn't officially exist. If your father had evidence on it, that explains why they're so desperate to get to you. Do you think you can help?" Elise asked, her voice wavering. Caroline's eyes flicked to the bag. "Let me see the phone." Elise hesitated, her father's last words ringing in her ears. Trust no one. But Caroline was her only chance now. Slowly, she pulled out the phone and handed it over. Caroline examined it, her expression unreadable. "I've seen phones like this before. Customized hardware, untraceable, built for one purpose, to hide the truth." She glanced up. "You said Marcus was decrypting files?" "Yes," Elise said, "but we got interrupted before we could finish. There's more on there. Financial records, names, and a hit list." Caroline's eyes widened. A hit list? Journalists, activists, even politicians? Elise said. And my name was on it. Caroline sat back, her face grim. This is bigger than I thought. Before Elise could respond, the bell above the coffee shop door jingled. She glanced up and froze. Derek stood in the doorway, his eyes locking onto hers with a mix of anger and desperation. Behind him, two men in suits entered, their cold gazes sweeping the room. Follow me, Caroline said. No. Elise and Caroline slipped out the back, the narrow alley behind the coffee shop providing a brief moment of cover. Behind them, they heard shouts as Derek and the men realized they were gone. This way, Caroline said, leading Elise through a maze of alleyways. The journalist moved with practiced precision, her movements quick but calculated. Elise's heart pounded as she followed, the bag bouncing against her back. Where are we going? To a safe house, Caroline said, someplace they won't find us. A car screeched to a halt at the end of the alley, cutting off their path. One of the suited men stepped out, his hand reaching into his jacket. Caroline cursed under her breath. Run! They darted down a side path, the men in pursuit. Elise's legs burned, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She clutched the bag tightly, her father's voice echoing in her mind. The phone, it's more than it seems. They finally lost their pursuers, ducking into an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. Caroline locked the door behind them, her breathing heavy but controlled. Elise collapsed onto the floor, clutching her knees. I can't keep doing this, she said, exhausted. You don't have a choice, Caroline said bluntly. But you're not alone anymore. Caroline opened the phone, her fingers deftly navigating the encrypted files Marcus had partially decrypted. As she worked, her expression shifted from focused to horrified. This isn't just about Project Eclipse, she said. Your father wasn't just collecting evidence. He was building a fail-safe. A fail-safe? Elise asked. Caroline turned the phone toward her, showing a new file that had just unlocked. The screen displayed a simple message, written in her father's unmistakable handwriting. Elise, the truth will protect you. Follow the coordinates. This marks the end of Elise's thrilling and complex journey. A journey driven not by the promise of monetary gain, but by a need to uncover the truth, fueled by the legacy of her father's wisdom. What began as a search for an inheritance became a quest for justice, truth, and her own inner strength. Now, let's reflect on the profound lessons embedded in Elise's story and how they can illuminate our own paths, especially in the context of our lives in middle age and beyond. Lesson 1. Beyond the material, the true inheritance. Elise's story began with what seemed like a great injustice, a massive inheritance for her brother while she got an old phone. But the true inheritance was not money, but the wisdom, courage, and the mission her father entrusted to her. This reminds us that wealth and status often obscure true values. Reflect on this. What are the intangible inheritances in your own life? What gifts beyond the material have shaped you? In the context of work, sometimes we focus too much on our titles and salaries, forgetting the true value lies in the knowledge and impact we're leaving. Lesson 2. Unlocking the hidden potential within. That old phone, a seemingly worthless object, contained a hidden app, a key to her father's life and secrets. Likewise, we all have hidden switches and apps within us, skills, passions, wisdom that we may have neglected. This story highlights the importance of reflection and self-discovery. Reflect on this. What hidden potentials within you are waiting to be unlocked? How can you begin to access them? Consider the times that you have been overlooked. What switch or app did you use to get through that moment? Lesson 3. Trust your instincts, question authority. Elise's journey was fraught with betrayal from those closest to her. This underscores the importance of trusting your own instincts, especially when they conflict with what's expected or popular. It is essential to question established narratives, even from those in positions of authority, as often, the most critical truths are found outside the accepted norms. Reflect. When have your instincts warned you about someone or something? How can you become more attuned to your inner guidance? In your personal lives, that feeling that something is off is worth paying attention to. Lesson 4. the strength to persevere in the face of adversity. Elise faced betrayals, physical threats, and immense pressure. Yet, she persisted. Her courage came not from any superpowers, but from her resolve to honor her father's legacy and her unwavering pursuit of truth. This reminds us that the path to our growth is often paved with adversity. Reflect, what are the battles you are currently fighting? How can you channel your inner resilience to keep moving forward? Remember, every challenge is an opportunity to become stronger. Lesson 5. The Power of Legacy. Oliver didn't just leave behind a will. He left a legacy, a purpose. His actions transcended his physical life and propelled his daughter into action. Reflect, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? How can you be a force for positive change, impacting the lives of others long after you're gone? Consider how small gestures of kindness and teaching can ripple through generations. Now, let's translate these lessons into actionable steps. Here are a few questions and tips to guide your own journey of self-discovery and growth. 1. Journaling prompt. Take some time to reflect. What's old phone or hidden switch exists in your life right now? What secrets might they reveal if you only turn them on? How can you uncover your own unique code? 2. Relationship check. Are there relationships in your life where you feel you cannot fully trust your instincts? How can you set healthier boundaries or address communication gaps? Remember, being able to trust your intuition can save you many steps in the wrong direction. 3. Legacy action. What small step can you take today to create a legacy of positive change? How can you contribute to the world in a meaningful way? Remember, even small acts of kindness can ripple outwards. 4. Action steps. Don't just think about this video, use it. If the lessons today resonated with you in any way, put them to work. Share a message of hope with someone today, or take that one step towards that change that you have been postponing. As we conclude this journey, remember that your life is your story. Embrace the challenges, discover your hidden potential, and pursue your own truth with courage. Your inheritance is not just what you possess, but what you become along the way. The world needs your unique light, your unique story. Remember to subscribe, share this video, and let's continue this journey of self-discovery together. Thank you for joining me on Whispers of the Mind. Until next time, may your inner explorer thrive.